95% of your murderers and murder victims fit one MO. You can just take the description, Xerox it, and pass it out to all the cops. They are male, minorities, 15 to 25. That's true in New York, it's true in virtually every city. And that's where the real crime is. You've got to get the guns out of the hands of the people that get killed. So you've got to, if you want to spend the money, put a lot of cops in the street, put those cops where the crime is, which means in minority neighborhoods. So this is one of the unintended consequences is people say, oh my God, you are arresting kids for marijuana, they're all minorities. Yes, that's true. Why? Because we put all the cops in the minority neighborhoods. Yes, that's true. Why we do it? Because that's where all the crime is. And the way you get the guns out of the kids' hands is to throw them against the wall and frisk them. And then they say, oh, I don't want that, I don't want to get caught, so they don't bring the gun. They may still have a gun, but they leave it at home.
Uh-oh. Mayor Bloomberg here saying some things that you're not allowed to say as a Democrat. Not allowed to say it. People are calling it racist. I even saw, I believe there have been Trump supporters who say that they're not all saying stop and frisk is racist. Guys, if you were pro stop and frisk all of your life until a couple of moments ago, that is not a principled thing to do. So I'm keeping an eye on some of those conservatives out there who are saying, oh, stop and frisk is so racist, just because they feel like it's going to be a good way to attack Bloomberg. I mean, if you were saying stop and frisk was a good idea 5 years ago, I want to know why you've changed. I've seen the data, and at least the data the city of New York provides, although I will say that I have law enforcement sources who will say that there's the perception value of stop and frisk in dangerous areas led to them being safer. But just in terms of how many people were rather in terms of people being stopped for stop and frisk and crime rates in the city, they stopped the practice and the crime did not spike the way some people thought it would. Now, maybe people would point to what's going on now and say there was a delay and that perception shifted. It's a complicated argument to be had for sure. But I don't like seeing the switch here into, oh, well, because it's useful for attacking Bloomberg, let's all just pretend we didn't say those things we said before. But now let's dig into what he said. This is interesting because, folks, if you listened to the show yesterday, I told you, I remember I was discussing this with you, talking about criminal justice reform and law and order in New York and across the country. Dun, dun. I don't know, that noise from whenever I think of law and order, I think of that noise. And I definitely have lost like 6 hours at a time to just binge watching that show. Which, if you watch enough Law and Order, you will find out that the writers of Law and Order believe that the greatest murder threat in New York City is usually white, college-educated, rich guys who live on the Upper East Side who go to country clubs. They're the ones that lose their temper and just kill the maid with a golf club. You know, that's what happens in Law and Order. You're like, oh, gee, I guess that's where the real criminal concern should come from. Turns out, though, the statistics have a slightly different picture, and that is what Mayor Bloomberg is talking about here. And this is true, and as you know, I spent time in the NYPD. I had access to all the different databases and the information that, in fact, I had more information than a vast majority of rank-and-file police officers because I was in the most sensitive single part of the NYPD on the terrorism side, but also just had effectively a much broader access than guys who are actually walking the streets, keeping us safe, by the way. Their job was a lot harder than mine. But I did see a lot and know a lot as a result of that. And, gosh, I got to be careful. I didn't know a lot. That's true. I mean, and if you just read the newspaper, you understand this. If you see the basic statistics out of Rikers Island, as I mentioned to you, I mean, Rikers Island, which is the main criminal penitentiary for New York City, is over 90% black and Hispanic.